This is the 2006 season recap. Coach Jim Withers and the Duquesne Dukes finished the 2006 season with a 20-12 record, and it is a season that will live on in Duquesne basketball lore, a season that will also live on in NCAA tournament lore, as the Duquesne Dukes come out of nowhere, defying the doubters, experts having very low expectations for this Duquesne team entering this season, coming off of an 8-22 season the year prior, no winning season since 1994, and no NCAA tournament appearances or conference tournament championships since 1977. The Duquesne Dukes making a real run here, a real Cinderella run in March, and an incredible season. We win 6 straight elimination games in March, an incredible run through the Atlantic 10 tournament after a really great season, first winning season, like I said, since 1994. But we were certainly big underdogs going into the A10 tournament, and very nearly did not get out of the opening round. Needed a big comeback, an absolute nail-biter against Salle. They put up a shot at the buzzer that would have eliminated us. We got out of there with the skin of our teeth. Then back-to-back huge upsets against Dayton, the host of the A10 tournament, a team that had beaten us earlier in the season. And then against Charlotte, the regular season A10 champions, a team that absolutely blew us out the second-to-last game of the regular season. Then another come-from-behind victory in the A10 championship against Temple. Went to the NCAA tournament, ending that big drought for Duquesne basketball, and it was a historic game against Indiana, a game that was an instant classic for sure that will be talked about for a very, very, very long time. We set the NCAA tournament record for the biggest comeback victory of all time, trailed by 23 points against the Hoosiers. Stormed back, showed so much heart and determination. All of America was cheering on us there at the end of that one, and it certainly got behind us as we continued our run. A big upset win against LSU to get us to the Sweet 16. Our run did come to an end. We ran into an absolute buzzsaw, an extremely good Villanova team, the number 2 seed out of the Oakland Regional. They really did blow us out. The final score ended up being 101-66. But like I said, this is a run that will never be forgotten for Duquesne basketball. Let's take a look at the rest of the NCAA tournament. The season for Duquesne is done. The NCAA season as a whole is completed. So let's take a look at how the NCAA tournament all ended up here. Again, it all started with the play-in game, Albany getting past South Carolina State. That got things going here in the NCAA tournament. Another look here, we'll just recap all the rounds real quick here. Starting in the Washington Regional. This regional went completely chalk in the first round. Connecticut, the 1 seed, they were the 1 seed at the beginning of the season. They were number 1 at the beginning of the season, number 1 throughout the season. 1 seed here, got past Albany by 14, no problem there. Georgia Tech winning, South Carolina victory, Alabama, Texas, all cruising. Xavier, close game against Houston, got by them. And Harvard gave Georgetown a real scare, 14, getting into the 3 seed, close battle, but Georgetown able to pull it out. Washington, the 6 seed, getting the win. Then the second round, Washington blowing out Georgetown, who looked unimpressive in their first game. Xavier in another close battle. This time they fall short as Texas gets the win 73-71. South Carolina lights out defense against Alabama, gets the job done. Connecticut blowing out Georgia Tech there in their second game of the tournament. Moving on to the Sweet 16. Connecticut taking care of business against South Carolina. The Gamecocks gave them a fight, but UConn gets the win by 6. And Texas blowing out Washington 82-65 for the Elite 8 matchup. And UConn all over Texas. The final score in that one, 89-68. As Connecticut, it was 1 versus 2 in the Elite 8 in the Washington Regional. Connecticut, the 1 seed, moved on to the Final Four. Look at the Atlanta Regional. Duke getting their NCAA tournament started with a 13-point win against Jacksonville State. Pittsburgh, who we defeated earlier in the season, so coming from the same city as we are, they take care of business against Air Force. Gonzaga, the 13 seed, blowing out Miami the first round. Providence getting past Northern Iowa. Wake Forest blowing out Delaware. UNLV winning. Louisville blowing out Cal State Fullerton. San Diego State getting the victory. For the second round, San Diego State 3-point win over Louisville. So number 6 San Diego State moved on. And Wake Forest winning by 8 over UNLV. Gonzaga blowing out Providence. So 2 blowout victories for the 13 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs. Gonzaga has become a regular in the NCAA tournament, starting with a big Cinderella run of their own in '99, where they reached all the way to the Elite Eight. They were looking for another big run here, 2006. Duke having no problem against Pittsburgh, so they move on to the Sweet 16. And this was a great game here. Gonzaga trying to get the upset over number 1 Duke, but Duke by a single point able to get the win and move on to the Elite Eight. The other matchup, Wake Forest blowing out San Diego State, and no contest there to set up a 1-2, another 1-2 in a regional final. And this time the 2 seed blowing out the 1 seed, Wake Forest, all over Duke. So Wake Forest winning the Atlanta Regional, moving on to the Final Four. Look at the Minneapolis Regional that had quite a few first-round upsets here. Number 1 had no problem. Very small upset here. Number 9 taking care of number 8 Michigan, getting the win over Oklahoma State. Illinois taking care of business against Gardner-Webb. But a 12-5 here. Oral Roberts taking down Kentucky. And then the biggest upset seeding-wise in the tournament, number 15 seed Southern taking down number 2 seed Boston College. A big win there for Southern, of course, and a huge disappointment for the Eagles, who we also played earlier in the season. Notre Dame getting an 11-point win over DePaul, 10-7, and 14 takes down a 3. Northwestern State taking down Oklahoma. Charlotte, no problem against UAB. Charlotte, of course, we had to take down to just get to the tournament. So they moved on to the second round, where they had a nice matchup against a 14 seed Northwestern State, and they took care of business, getting the victory there. Notre Dame all over Southern. Southern could not score very well. Notre Dame cruising there for a trip to the Sweet 16 of their own. Illinois, a battle against Oral Roberts, but able to get a 4-point win. Arizona takes care of business against Michigan, number 1 seed, moving on. But that was as far as the number 1 seed went in the Minneapolis Regional, as number 4 seed Illinois getting a 71-56 victory to advance to the Elite Eight. And number 10 versus number 6 in the other Elite Eight matchup, Notre Dame getting a hard-fought 3-point victory to eliminate Charlotte and move on to the Elite Eight. And Notre Dame blowing out Illinois. What a run here for the 10 seed Notre Dame Fighting Irish, winning the Minneapolis Regional and advancing to the Final Four. And then we will go to our regional, the Oakland Regional. This one came known with some extremely good games. The first one was not won here, the 1 seed versus 16 seed. Maryland winning by 69 points over High Point. But this one certainly was. Look at all these 1-point games in the round of 64 here. New Mexico State, 1-point win over USC, the 8 wins over 9. Ball State nearly took down the defending national champions with the Tar Heels with a 1-point win there. Rutgers avoided the 5 versus 12 upset, winning by 1 over Holy Cross. Villanova blowing out Iona, 75-51. 1-point win UCLA over Michigan State. LSU blowing out Davidson. And then, of course, our historic NCAA tournament-setting record 23-point comeback, 1-point victory over Indiana. So a absolutely thrilling round of 64 in the Oakland Regional. A lot of 1-point games. We moved on after that incredible win Obviously huge underdogs again, taking on the 3-seed LSU, but we found a way to get ourselves out in front, and we stayed there, playing our hearts out again and extending the Cinderella run 72-59. We defeated the 3-seed LSU. Villanova, 20-point win over UCLA, no problem for the Wildcats there. North Carolina, another nail-biter, getting past Rutgers by 2. And Maryland upset by the 8-seed New Mexico, losing by 6 points. New Mexico making a run as well. Moved on to the Sweet 16, North Carolina. They had a battle from the Lobos, but the Tar Heels winning it by 7 to move on to the Elite 8. And Villanova, this was a non-contest really. The Wildcats, they just absolutely blew us out in this one. We kept fighting, but they were just better by a big margin in this game. So Villanova moved on to take on North Carolina. This was a rematch of a tournament matchup between the two last season. North Carolina defeated Villanova in the Sweet 16 last year and went on to win the national title. They meet again this year in the Elite 8. And North Carolina again victorious, and it's not as close this time, not a 1-point game. It's going to be a 13-point, 70-57 win. The 4-seed North Carolina Tar Heels, defending national champions, going back to the Final Four. And here is a look at the Final Four. First one was the team that had been number 1 all season long. At the beginning of the year, all throughout the season. Number 1 seed taking on the defending national champions. Very intriguing matchup, but it was not a close game at all. UConn blows out the Tar Heels 97-65, a 32-point win in the Final Four. Sent Connecticut to the national title. As for the other matchup, 2-seed Wake Forest, 10-seed Notre Dame. This was quite a ball game. Notre Dame hanging in there throughout for sure. They had a great run in this one. Notre Dame had a lead in the second half for a while, but Wake Forest able to get the victory, pulling it out in the end, 67-62. Wake Forest winning and going to their first ever national championship game, where they took on UConn as underdogs. And UConn was able to get the job done completely. Started the year number 1, finishing the year number 1. What a run for the Connecticut Huskies. They are the 2006 NCAA national champions. And it was a good game. Wake Forest hung in there, tried to battle back again like they did in the Final Four, but Connecticut was too good, too strong, and UConn wins it 81-76. They are the national champions. That is the 2006 NCAA tournament. We were a part of it for the first time since 1977 with Duquesne. We certainly made a huge splash as well, a historic splash. We certainly had our one shining moment and then some. What a year, what a tournament, what a team, the 2006 Duquesne Dukes. Let's take a look here at the schedule for us one more time. We started things off low expectations entering the season, and they got even lower after our first 3 games. 3 straight losses to start the season, and they were against teams that ended up, none of them had winning records at the end of the season. Arkansas Pine Bluff lost by 5, lost by 11 to Oakland, lost by 14 to Akron. Looks like we're getting worse. Able to get our first win of the season, blew out Robert Morris, a close team to us, and then same city battle, Pittsburgh. They were ranked in this one, and we blew them out. A huge win there, really gave us a boost, thinking like maybe we can be a solid team this year. We had a rough start, but maybe we can get something going. Then we got blown out the next game. Just a few days later, West Virginia winning by 20. We were able to bounce back the following week, a 20-point win against Youngstown State on the road. Then a hard-fought home victory against the Citadel, our final non-conference game of the regular season against a very good Boston College team. We hung with them for a while, but they pulled away in the end and made it look like a blowout. Ended up losing it by 18 in the end. And that's how we entered conference play. Got ourselves off to a good start. Hard-fought victory on the road against LaSalle, winning by 4. Tough loss against UMass, losing by 7. Then winning by 7 against Richmond, winning by 17 against Fordham. Then we started a 3-game skid again, losing by 13 on the road against Dayton. Hard-fought game against George Washington, losing by 5, and losing by 13 at St. Bonaventure. We were really falling down here, but able to bounce back, taking care of LaSalle in our second game against them, this time blowing them out. Taking down Fordham, getting another blowout victory. Hard-fought game against Rhode Island, but able to pull away, win it by 7. Hard-fought game against Temple, but able to win it by 8. So a 4-game winning streak here following a 3-game losing streak, our longest streak of any kind at this time. And we had a heartbreaker here against St. Louis. We were right in this one till the end, had a chance to tie things up late, couldn't get the job done. Lost by 2 to St. Louis. But we were able to bounce back with a huge win against Xavier. Xavier was ranked number 9 in the country at this time. We were on the road. No one expected that to happen, but we certainly bounced back strong after the disappointing loss with a massive win. Then in overtime, able to get past St. Bonaventure. Then we lost to Charlotte. On the road, Charlotte absolutely blew us out. Almost lost by 30 points, ended up losing by 29. 98 to 69 was the final. A really rough, embarrassing loss for us. But that was the last time we would lose for a while. Our second to last game of the regular season. Our final game was at home against St. Joseph's. It's a big game for both teams. They were trying to get in the A10 tournament. We were trying to give ourselves a chance at getting a first round bye. We were able to get a solid victory. It ended up not being enough to get us a bye, and that almost got us eliminated because we did have to play in that first round matchup, and we took on LaSalle, a team that we had beat twice in the regular season, but they had control in this one. They were winning by 13 points, just over 5 minutes left. We put together a furious comeback, furious rally, nail-biting game for sure. Able to get a jump shot with just seconds left to give us a 2-point lead. And LaSalle put up a 3-pointer at the buzzer that hit the rim, did not go in, would have eliminated us on the spot and ended our season. But we hung on by the skin of our teeth to move on to the next round of the A10 tournament. Up against Dayton, we played them on the road earlier this season, lost by 13. They're the host team in the tournament. So playing on their home court, they were favored to win this way. They're supposed to cruise to a victory, but we were able to take them down by 7. A huge win here to advance to the A10 semifinals. But that's where it was certainly supposed to end, taking on a team that had just blown us out not long before. They just beat us by 29 points. And it was a different story this time. In the A10 semis, we were able to get past Charlotte, a stunning victory, 77 to 67. Put us 1 game away from a trip to the NCAA tournament. Trailed by 9 in the first half against Temple, but ended up taking the lead and held on to it. What a great game, what a run it had already been at this point. It was already a season to remember for sure once we were able to get this victory and make history go into our first NCAA tournament since 1977. What a run it had already been in March. This is the game that made it absolutely legendary, made this season absolutely a season that will live on forever. This was a historic game, biggest comeback in NCAA tournament history, as we had trailed by 23 points late in the first half and found a way to come all the way back and absolutely stun the Hoosiers. There was a huge celebration on the court for us, bit of a dog pile, tears of joy for sure. Back on campus, a whole city of Pittsburgh going wild for us as we made the run through the A10 tournament, and then an absolute stunner here against Indiana. Even if we had just made it to the tournament and got blown out, which look like we were going to, it still would have been an incredible year, but able to pull that one off, the season will live on forever. And then we were not done, able to get an even bigger upset in terms of seedings, taking down the 3-seed LSU, a stunning performance, taking us to the Sweet 16. Of course, then we did run into a buzzsaw. Villanova, a very good team. They ended up beating us by 35 points. Of course, Villanova's run ended in disappointment the following game as they lost in the Elite Eight to North Carolina. But that was the run here, 2006 season for the Duquesne Dukes. And let's take a look here at the final stats for the team that will live on in Duquesne basketball lore. Senior Donovan Sperry led with points per game. Juwan McKenzie, also a senior, just behind him. Jesse Gorney had many huge moments. Same with Wyatt Polkowski. And our other usual starter, DeMario Beavers. That was our starting 5 this season. All huge for us, for sure. Bench guys, also massive contributors. Vaughn Quinn, Len Dickerson, Sidney Koster, Eugene Blackman, Elmer Teague, and Vince Northcutt. Everyone contributed. If you go back through that run we had in March, look at some of the moments, like some of these guys stepped up, made huge plays we would have been eliminated without. Like I remember some games in that very first tournament game against, some plays in that very first tournament game against LaSalle that just absolutely clutched down the stretch that were absolutely do or die, or else this run would have been over before it got started. Some of the stats are a little messed up here. Just didn't keep the stats correctly, but they are correct for the most part. It's a team that will be remembered for playing with great heart, great excitement. Team that people really enjoyed to watch throughout this run. And certainly a fan favorite throughout the country, really, during this March, having our one shining moment and more. Team that will live on forever, the 2006 Duquesne Dukes and their historic run in the 2006 March Madness. That is it for the Duquesne Dukes in 2006. Doing the school, doing the city. Extremely, extremely proud. I said this is a team that will never be forgotten. Let's go Duquesne!